Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Amagati, your family life coach. This is parenting in a foreign culture. If you haven't caught on yet, I am here for you, helping you with parenting tips each week, actually, just to help you become a better parent, especially if you're an immigrant like myself, doing parenting in a culture that is different from your own. So, if you watched my last episode, if you haven't, I want you to stop this video and go back and watch the last episode. But if you've been following me and you watched the last episode, I was talking about how and when to have the talk with your child. And we did establish in that video that the talk is not set for a particular time frame, that the talk needs to be happening even when they're children, as our children grow, so that when you actually get into having talking about the nitty gritty and of stuff and getting into the details, you do not feel awkward because you've already established a relationship with your child, talking about just development, sexuality, stuff like that. So start early. Okay, so if you've not watched that video, I'm just doing a quick recap on that. Start early. Call the parts the right names. Okay, don't make the mistake I made where I was calling it PP and stuff like that, and then eventually switch over to the right name, and everyone now is feeling awkward. You don't want to do that. So start early, just age appropriate though. I mean, there's certain things you can discuss with a 5-year-old, but you should be able to discuss with a 16-year-old. So start early, get comfortable with conversations like that, make it casual. Go for a drive if you drive, and have the conversation with your child whilst you're driving. Okay, so in the same vein of talking about having the talk, one of the things that we need to start talking to our children about is also relationships, right? Because the hope is that eventually they will grow up and become someone's spouse when they grow up, and hopefully become parents as well, just like we are parenting them. And so you want to have start having conversations about relationships early. Okay, not because you're endorsing relationships, not that you're encouraging them to go out and find a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. No, but just the same way you're having the talk with them gradually and increasing as you go, you want to start early. One of the things that I did with my children when they were really early is I would have conversations about what to look out for in a future partner. Right. So, what kind of, with my daughter, we talked about what kind of man she should look for, what kind of man she should desire. And these were coming in small doses. And so, as we have this conversation today, I want you to start thinking about where your child is, and even yourself, right? To think about yourself for a moment. I always wondered how well established I would be in terms of just getting my mind, as far as relationships and stuff like that, if someone has started earlier on in life, right? With me, as far as talking about what to look out for in a man. I've been blessed to have a great husband, and I'm so grateful for that. But what would that conversation be for most of us if we were taught by our parents on what to look out for in a partner as we grow up, as we date, as we get into relationships? What should we look out for? And I think a lot of heartache and a lot of disappointment will be spared if these conversations were being had earlier on in our lives. And so I think it's important that we do that as our children are growing. And it's one thing to talk, and it's another thing to actually live out what you're teaching your child. And so I have noticed, and I have no research to back this, so this is just my own opinion. Okay, don't quote me on it. But I've noticed that in most cases, people who struggle, not all cases, but in most cases, people who struggle in relationships tend to have been in homes where that was not shown to them. Like the relationship between their parents or their mom and dad was not what they were looking for, what they looked up to, or they grew up in a single parent household. So they didn't know how to live, as a husband and wife, what that should look like. Right. And so a lot of us went through that. I'm including myself in that, where an example of a good marriage was not portrayed for most people. And so, if that did not happen, how are you going to learn to become that good partner for your spouse in the future? Right. And so, it is important that our children see what that looks like. Now, if for some reason, that example is not at home, or maybe you and your spouse or you and your partner's relationship is not the example that you want your children to see, then look within your circles. Is there a couple that you think, from what you see, are living the example of the relationship you would like your children to look up to? Right. But that also comes back to us as parents. How you relate, like for example, how I relate to my husband, right? How my husband treats me and how I treat him is being seen by my children. And they are forming their opinions on one, what a relationship, what a marriage should look like, or what a marriage should not look like. All right. And so you find, like I've seen, I've heard about people who've grown up in abusive homes where maybe their father would beat up on their mother. And these children have made up their minds that they would never get married because now they're afraid of what that could mean for them. Or they go the other way where they make sure that that never, ever happens, right? And so, whatever we are portraying to our children, how daddy is treating mom, how mom is treating dad, all of that is being seen by our children. And we can talk all we want, but if the lifestyle is, or what we're doing, the example, the life we're living and leading is not being an exemplary one for our children, they tend to form their opinions. I've heard a child tell their mother that they would never get married because all they saw were parents who were constantly fighting. So it is important, as you talk to your children about relationships, that your relationships or your relationship is healthy enough for them to look at, because believe it or not, children are watching us all the time. So it's not just what we're saying, it's how we're living, how we're doing. Let your actions speak better, louder, not even just better, louder than your words. Right. And so as the children are younger, you want to start talking to them about relationships, what to look out for. What is an emotionally abusive relationship? What is a physically abusive relationship? When something is being done that does not sit right with you, you need to be able to say no. These are talks that you want to have with your children. I remember a few years ago, I'm saying we because it was a group, two other ladies and myself we are friends, we're family as well, but we took our children, our girls, we had older girls who were about the same age. So we took our girls to a girls' weekend away, and we took them to a place. We checked into like a little resort, and it was fun. But at that night, we all came together and we started talking to the girls about relationships and when to say no. So one of the things we told them about was, when, let's say that they were in a situation where a boy was touching them or doing things to them that they were not comfortable about, they had every right to say no. Even if they initiated it, they had every right to say no whenever they felt like saying no. And just empowering our children and being able to be candid, I think goes a long way to help them. So here's a tip for you from just that example I gave about my friends and I going away with our daughters. If having conversations like these are awkward for you, I would highly recommend that you find either other parents who have children around the same age as yours and go away for the weekend, right? Or maybe send people away from your house and let them come in for a sleepover. And between you and the other mothers, or you and the other fathers, you guys can have these conversations with your children. I find that when I talk in a group, it's less awkward than when I do it just by myself. So if you want to do that, I think that's another option. It was just something I came up with. I was like, yeah, let's go away for the weekend and let's talk to our girls. And so we took a group of just our friends, just me and the two other mothers and the children, and we went away. It was fun. It was outside from home. But then we were able to have these conversations with our children. We even went as far as talking about just being online and being careful information we share with strangers and stuff like that. And so you can do that. Just get a few friends who have children around the same age. You guys go away or maybe go out to dinner and find a nice quiet place, restaurant, or go to the beach or do something that is fun. And then in the midst of having fun, you can all as a group have a group discussion on some of these topics. And so as your children grow, another thing I want to say is make sure that you start talking about relationships, dating. I know everyone is on different um on different understanding, right, of what and when our children should be dating and seeing people. I feel like, and then again, this is just my opinion, is that children want to explore, and sometimes you want them to explore in a safe environment. So rather than just shutting them down and saying no dating, you cannot hang out with anybody or even have a boyfriend or whatever. Again, it's my opinion. I'd rather do it in a safe environment where the parents are involved. We know what's going on. We start talking to them about what is appropriate and what is not. If you're like me, who is a firm believer of saving yourself for marriage, I mean, that's a big one, right? And so we want to have that conversation. And so talk. That is the tip I have for you today. Talk, 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 talk to your children. If you start talking early, it is less awkward as they grow up. The truth is, at some point in our lives, we will want our children to see people and probably give us some grandkids, right? You don't want to wait till they are 30 and then you're like, why are you not dating? Why are you not bringing anybody home? You want to have the conversation now so it's not awkward, right? You don't want to wait till they are 30 and 35 and now you're pushing everybody to them and trying to arrange a marriage for them. Teach them how to be good spouses, and it starts now. Because whether you like it or not, you're raising somebody's spouse right now. One of the things that my son does, and first time he did it, I thought it was strange because I've never really taught him that, and I don't know where he was picking it up from. But we went to the store, he and I, and before I got to the car, he ran around and opened my door for me. I thought that was so cute, and I told him, I said, the women love that. We live in a day and age where everyone is saying, I can do it too, me too, but I also feel like there is something nice about treating your woman right. And so I didn't stop him and I encouraged him. We had a conversation about that. So encourage your children, just find a little things. If you are a father listening to me and let's say that you bought flowers for your wife, let the children see it. Okay. Or you bought chocolate for your wife, let the children see it. If you hug your wife, let your children see it. And please show that affection. Public display of affection make the children also feel secure because now they know that daddy loves mommy, and it goes the other way too. But as we show affection to each other, let's not just wait and show that affection when the children are not around. They need to see that example of what a marriage and a good marriage could look like, what a good relationship, what a solid relationship looks like. So teach them that because it is your responsibility. It is no one else's. So anyway, looking at the clock, my time with you is up. It goes by so quickly, sometimes I talk and I look at the clock and I'm like, ooh, 15 minutes has gone by. So I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for supporting this channel. People only would know what we are doing, what I am doing, if you share. So please don't forget to share and subscribe and get the message out there because I know there are parents like you and I who need to know these things because kids don't come with a manual. I know you've heard this over and over. And so thank you again for your time. I look forward to coming your way again. I hope that something I've said has been worth your time listening to these almost 15 minutes with me. So again, talk with your child. Start early. If you start early, it will not be awkward when they get older. Okay, have conversations. All right. Thank you all. Have a great evening, morning, night, whenever you're listening to this channel and listening to me. Again, I thank you for your support. Take care. Bye.